Thank you, Jack Waters. We're back. We're live. We're Think Tech, and it's Wednesday. Even if it's Wednesday before Thanksgiving, it's still Wednesday, which means we still talk about energy on Wednesday at 4 o'clock. And we talk, as usual, about Hawaii, the state of clean energy. My co-host, who is not yet here, but will be here soon, maybe, is Sharon Moriwaki of the Hawaii Energy Policy Forum. And our special guests tonight are, well, first our very special guest, Carl Fuchs, who can talk about a program he's doing. And then we have Rob Deverturda from Hawaii Energy, talk about Hawaii Energy things. And then we have our case in chief, so to speak, Jeff Ono, the consumer advocate. Say hi.
Hi.
Good, thank you. And Robert Harris from the Sierra Club.
Aloha.
Thanks. Okay, getting to the agenda then. Carl, you're first up. Tell us about the Venture Capital, the VC Summit and Startup Paradise Demo Day program in the Sheraton Waikiki on December 4th.
No, thanks, Jay, and I appreciate the article you had in the paper the other day bringing attention to this. Every year we help host what we call the VC Summit. So it's a venture capital event where we bring together investors and companies, celebrate our accomplishments for the year. The special event this year is we're launching Startup Paradise. So the entrepreneurial community has come together over the last year or two and branded Hawaii as Startup Paradise. You know, as you know, the Pacific Northwest is Silicon Forest. Utah is Silicon Slopes.
Perfect.
LA has taken on Silicon Beach, et cetera, et cetera. Our community decided we're not going to be Silicon anything, and we're Startup Paradise. It's a great place to start your business, good place to grow your business. So there's going to be a panel to discuss what that means for the community, a video to launch that branding effort. So it should be quite exciting. After that, we've got some companies, TrueTags, if you're familiar with TrueTags, Cardax Pharmaceutical, and Context. And these three companies have raised significant venture capital.
Is that Dan Luke?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, so TrueTags has raised over 10 million, Cardax around 5 million, and Context about 1.5 million or so. So each of them have a different story, but they've been successfully entering into the community, raising capital for their businesses. And then we have a keynote address by Don Dodge.
From Google.
He's an advisor to Google Ventures. He's also worked in the past with Microsoft. He's a startup evangelist, started up 3 or 4 companies of his own. He's in the flow. He understands what's going on. He's going to be able to talk to us about where Hawaii fits into broader trends in entrepreneurial and venture capital activity. And then following that is the grand event, which is the demo day for our Blue Startups Accelerator.
That's the Pitch Fest.
So we've got 6 companies pitching from that accelerator program, which was established earlier this year, and also the Energy Accelerator. I think they have 4 companies pitching.
Oh, that's Don Lippert and Pictor.
Exactly. So it's a great representation of the spectrum of startup activity in the state. Our investor community will be out there in force. We have a number of funds who will be at tables at lunchtime, prepared to meet with and discuss with entrepreneurs.
They won't be wearing masks or anything.
No, they're
more
more
to tell who they are.
They're happy to meet and find out what's going on in Hawaii. We are getting businesses started. We're getting businesses funded. Our investors are happy to find companies to invest in here in Hawaii.
We are with you entirely, Carl.
Great.
Okay, if we bring a camera down?
Absolutely.
All right, we're going to check out what's happening. This is really important. As I wrote in the article, you know, we've lost ground, at least in my opinion, over the past few years. It's time to start up the bubble machine again, and I think you are doing exactly that.
No, it's been a pretty active couple of years. You know, people don't realize it, and maybe we haven't done a good job communicating, but over the past 2 years, we've raised $21 million of investable funds. And we've been slowly deploying that money through different types of activities. So we want to stimulate very early stage startup activity through our accelerator programs. We're capitalizing seed funds. So we have a fund at the university for research and commercialization. We're about to capitalize a fund on Maui to invest statewide for startup software companies. And we're also working with Startup Capital Ventures on their second fund to keep them focused on Hawaii and investing in Hawaii. So they're a Series A later stage fund. And the State Pension Fund has a series of venture capital funds they have invested in. So they've allocated $25 million of their pension portfolio to Hawaii startup venture capital opportunities.
That's terrific.
And so those fund managers are spending time in Hawaii, meeting with Hawaii companies. And one of those funds did invest in a Hawaii company coming out of Blue Startups this past year.
That's great.
So a lot of activity going on.
Yeah, I have to talk to you more.
Yeah, you do.
Find out the good side of things. Carl handles the good side of things, and it sounds like it's actually happening, and this is great. I think one of the interesting aspects of my article that I wrote is I always get the good news by email.
Mm-hmm.
People say, "Oh yeah, right, and then I get the other news by the postings, the anonymous postings with the handles on the newspaper, and boy, are they negative. They're still down. I mean, it's unanimous. They're still down on 221. 221 is tech. The whole thing is like rolled into one thing for a lot of people. And we've got to deal with that. We've got to change the way people think.
Absolutely. So this $21 million investment program that I discussed, so this is not the state government going out and investing money into companies and trying to pick winners or losers. So what we do is we go into our community, we find out where our entrepreneurs are interested in starting businesses. We find capable fund managers. We work with them and help them raise funds. And a lot of them are now raising funds from locally based capital. So our purpose is to bring together local capital together with the state to catalyze a fund based in Hawaii, focused on building Hawaii portfolios. And so this is real capital, not tax credit subsidized. There's no risk mitigation or anything else.
Good.
It's a dollar for dollar. We take the same risk as the investor community. Investor community is taking the same risk as us. And we are getting very solid partners participating.
Good. Great, Carl. Well, that's Carl Fuchs. He's from HSBC, Hawaii Strategic Development Corporation, and he's putting on this program on December 4th called VC Summit.
The VC Summit, it's a Startup Paradise Venture Capital Summit. It's not just for venture capitalists. This is for people who want to start a business in Hawaii. Come out. It's a great networking event. You'll learn from the various companies pitching.
How do they sign up?
There's a site. You can go to my site. It's the easiest one, hsdc.hawaii.gov. And I forgot to mention, we have an early morning treat for people. We have a crowdfunding expert to hold a workshop on all the different sites that are out there now. So this is not so much Kickstarter, although we'll talk about Kickstarter and some of those donation sites. The SEC now is liberalizing rules that will allow a startup to advertise to an investor community across the nation for capital. So this will really benefit Hawaii companies. We've got an expert out here talking about all the different sites that are up, what kind of deals, and we think people can take great advantage of that.
Thank you, Carl. Carl Fuchs. We're now going to turn to Hawaii Energy, Rob Diverturta.
Yeah, okay.
And Hawaii Energy has another $1 million proposal for us, which we have to, which will help make energy more efficient. Go for it.
We're always doing that. Yeah, so thanks for having us. This is for the Negawatt moment. We always have tips for listeners out there. So we're going to talk about, in the spirit of the holidays and Christmas, so it'll be Christmas lighting, energy saving tips. So this is something anybody can do. So the first one is really to find an Energy Star Christmas tree lighting string. If you haven't already, most people, the old school days, they have incandescent bulbs, but now everything is all LEDs. Particularly one with an Energy Star that's Energy Star compliant. Look for that on the lights, and the decorative string lights can save about 70% of energy than traditional incandescent bulbs. And it lasts a long time, 25,000 to 35,000 hours. It's about 3 to 4 years.
That's what I call Christmas.
So you get a lot of mileage out of it. And the other benefit is, there's a lot of variety in colors these days, with shapes, different sizes, different lengths. In terms of the durability of it, there's no filament, there's no glass, no moving parts, so it's much safer in that regard. And the dimming and color shifting is much more apparent, and you have a lot more variety there.
Are you going to incentivize me?
Incentivize you? Well, yeah. Well, that's another part I'm going to get to. But for we're talking about lighting. If you haven't already switched over already, incandescent to CFL, and I think you're talking about one of our CFL rebates. It's 95 cents per CFL, so it's already factored into the price. So you go to any participating retailer, we have a whole bunch of them on our website. So you're already saving 95 cents per.
I don't have to apply for anything.
No, don't have to apply. It's already factored into the price. We already work with a big box retailers, small ones like Ace Hardware and Lowe's, some of the bigger ones. So that can reduce energy by about 70 to 75%, and then they last about 10 to 25 times as longer than incandescent bulbs.
Okay.
You haven't switched already.
We're gonna go to a break in a minute here, but that was Rob Diverturta. I get it right?
You got it right. That's right.
From Hawaii Energy in the Negawatt Moment, which we have every single Wednesday.
Absolutely.
From Hawaii Energy talking about efficiency and giving us deals and incentives that they think up in the middle of the night.
Exactly.
Thank you so much, Rob.
Thank you, James.
We'll take a short break now. We'll be right back after this break. This is Hawaii, the state of clean energy.
We want to thank our underwriters.
Hawaiian Electric Company and its affiliates Maui Electric on Maui and Hawaii Electric Light Company on Hawaii Island are deeply committed to the communities they serve.
Galen Ho is a senior executive of BAE Systems, a global defense, security, and aerospace company.
The High Tech Development Corporation, the state's leading technology agency, attached to the Department of Business, Economic Development, and Tourism.
Castle and Cook Hawaii, with a time-honored legacy that spans more than 160 years and revolves around its mission of investing in Hawaii, creating communities, and providing for the needs of our state.
Hawaii Gas, formerly the Gas Company, a proponent of the Liquefied Natural Gas Initiative, helping Hawaii achieve its transition to clean energy and a better energy future.
Collateral Analytics, a Hawaii-based tech company empowering the real estate industry with greater and faster access to the tools and data they need to make better informed property investment decisions.
I'm Nicole Horry. Thanks so much for joining us on Think Tech.
I'm Maria Kashem. See you next time.
Aloha, I'm Jay Fidel. This is Think Tech Hawaii, broadcasting live from the Pioneer Plaza in downtown Honolulu. We raise public awareness about tech, energy, and globalism in Hawaii. Technology is critical to our state. A vibrant tech sector will give us new prospects in the global marketplace and will offer great careers and make our economy more resilient. Streaming live on Ustream and Spreaker, Think Tech allows its hosts and guests invaluable opportunities to report important events and discuss important questions, and to be heard here in Hawaii and around the world. You can find links to our live streams on thinktechhawaii.com or on our mobile website, m.thinktechhawaii.com. And you can see our archive on YouTube. It's all just a click away. We want to do whatever we can to keep Hawaii relevant, connected, and thriving in the complexity of the 21st century. We hope you will help us in those efforts. Tune in today. This is Think Tech. I'm Jay. Aloha. I'm Jay Fidel of Think Tech. Think Tech is a 501c3 Hawaii nonprofit corporation. We began Think Tech in the year 2000. At Think Tech, we work to raise public awareness about tech, energy diversification, and globalism in Hawaii. We do 20 live stream talk shows every business day, and we do a weekly TV show on OC16. We pay the bills with donations from our supporters. Won't you help us by making a donation? All you need to do is go to our website, thinktechhawaii.com, and click there on the Donate button. We hope that you like what we do and that you will support us and help us continue to do it. Thanks so much for watching and for helping. I'm Jay Fidel of Think Tech.
Aloha, my name is Dan Bauer and I'm the General Manager of the Plaza Club. The Plaza Club is Honolulu's premier business club. We're located in the heart of the financial district on historic Fort Street Mall. On the 20th and 21st floors atop the Pioneer Plaza are commanding skyline views along with our...
Thank you, Jack Waters. Thank you, Leo Rodriguez. We're talking tonight about LNG. LNG, where are we? Here on Think Tech in Hawaii, the state of clean energy, with our special guests, Jeff Ono, the consumer advocate, and Robert Harris of the Sierra Club. And we'd like to we'd like to solve all the problems. Okay, that's the commitment, gentlemen. We're going to identify and solve all the problems here tonight. So first, Jeff, let's get your disposition on this.
Jeff and I should be king for the day, and these problems will be resolved. Just don't worry about it. Right, 2
kings. Okay.
And there's no problems in that idea.
So let's get your disposition on it, Jeff. How do you feel about LNG?
LNG, liquefied natural gas. Did you want me to say anything about what it is, or did you just launch right in?
No, say what it is. I mean, to the extent that people don't know, it's liquefied natural gas. We've been considering it for some time. The mainland has found that it's cheap now, it's available with certain fracking procedures that Robert can tell us more about. it's real cheap, and the world is turning to liquefied natural gas. The question whether Hawaii should turn to liquefied natural gas as a fuel that will be significantly cheaper than anything we're using now.
Well, okay, natural gas, as you said, it's in liquefied form to make it easily to transport. So what they do is they take natural gas and they chill it down to minus 260 degrees Fahrenheit, and it turns into a liquid form, which makes it you can ship it. And Hawaii is certainly looking at the possibility of importing LNG as a fuel source for electric utility, and Hawaii Gas is also looking at it for its customers. And the reason is that right now it's so cheap. On the North American continent, the big breakthrough is in horizontal drilling, and so a great deal of natural gas has been extracted out of the earth, and producers are looking for places to send it. Right now, there's only one export terminal that's been approved by the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, that's FERC. That's the Sabine Pass in Louisiana. There are 3 additional terminals that have DOE approval but are awaiting FERC approval, and there are numerous other export terminals that have applications before the DOE and FERC for to have their export terminals approved. Sabine Pass probably won't be ready until 2016, 2017, in that time frame. In the meantime, we're certainly looking at it as again a fuel source, and the reason is that right now Hawaiian Electric uses a product called low sulfur fuel oil, LSFO, and the EPA is going to put into effect new rules on the amount of emissions that can come out of these steam-generated plants, that, including the ones that Hawaiian Electric utilizes, and they're not going to be able to use LSFO the way they have in the past. And so what they're looking at, in order to meet the mercury air toxic standard that's going to go into effect, and the NAAQS requirements that are coming into effect a couple more years later, it would be low sulfur diesel or ultra low sulfur diesel, and those are going to be expensive products. So LNG is the potential game changer that we've been looking for. Maybe 30, as much as forecasted 40% savings on fuel. So we're looking at the possibility of saving 150 to as much as $300 million per year in fuel cost savings, and that's significant.
Okay, let's leave it there. We'll come back to that. But what about you, Robert? Can you give us your disposition on this?
I'd like to raise 3 principal concerns today, and one is addressing the cost issues, which Jeff just raised, and I think that is the promise of LNG, is that it could be cheaper. And I'd like to fundamentally question that assertion. And this is one that there's sort of a proof in the pudding kind of thing, in that, well, when we get a contract, we'll be able to determine really what the price is going to be, and maybe be able to do some accurate forecast of what the projections will be over time. That being said, before we start making policy, making decisions, and making investments based on these cost assurances, you want to be able to figure out what the decision point is. Will we be satisfied with a 10% savings, 15% savings? What is it going to be? And try to make sure that we hold true to that. And if the savings aren't there, then we should probably be looking in a different direction. There are clear...
Suppose they are there. Suppose it can be shown to your, satisfaction that it is way cheap. Would you then get on board?
I think that there are other concerns that have to be addressed too. And I think there are potential ways to address those concerns. One is obviously what you referenced earlier, is that there are clear environmental impacts on actually what they call fracking, actually removing it. On a federal level, fracking is exempt from clean water, clean air, basic land protections. And there are furious, violent debates going on in states where fracking is going on. And I think we have to make an assertion: is it aloha to be benefiting from something that's destroying the landscape, not protecting the environment from where we're getting our energy sources. And that's probably true of many of the energy sources that we currently have today, and whether or not we want to continue our reliance in that direction. But the third, and I think the important one, is LNG has been described as a bridge to a more renewable future, a bridge to something better. And we really should be trying to do the planning what that bridge is going to be. In every place where LNG has been aggressively applied, we've seen a slowdown in renewable energy or halt in renewable energy development without fail. I'm not sure if we found any example where renewable energies continue to increase. So if we're going to really try to forecast a future, and I think most people agree that being hooked on a volatile product is not healthy for our economy. It's not a good thing. We want to try to divest ourselves of that volatility as much as possible. If we're going to try and bridge somewhere, what's that bridge look like? And can we really try to forecast that future? And that's probably where we should start. Where do we want to be? And then back up from there.
Okay, well, you probably have some responses for that, so why don't
I thought this
we'll
wasn't
go
going
back
to
to
be
Jeff. He
it's
might
going
have
to
some
be. I'm
thoughts
just going to
about
say
those
fracking.
Well, let's talk about clean energy, because certainly burning natural gas has far fewer emissions than using fuel oil, diesel, or coal. So it will help with our carbon footprint. It would help with the amount of emissions that come out of these the electric utilities generation plants. The other thing, as Robert mentions, is we are looking at it as a bridge fuel, a bridge to renewable energy. The difficulty right now is that our renewable energy future is so very uncertain. The technology is out there, but right now we don't have real good cost-effective means to incorporate all of this renewable energy. Wind farms, for example, right now the costs are coming down, but where are we going to site these wind farms? Communities don't want them nearby. I mean, look what's happened in Waimea Valley. There's been a lot of objection to the Kauailoa wind farm that went in. Lanai Wind, the Lanai community has rose up against that particular project. So you really have to question what is our next renewable energy that we're going to be able to rely on. We're looking at storage options, but right now the storage technology is not cost effective. Look at the reports from HNEI about battery storage and pump storage hydro. We're just not there yet. So when we look at LNG, I think it has the potential to bridge us to a more renewable energy future. It's not meant to be permanent, and certainly that's one of the reasons why we're looking at a floating storage and regasification unit. When it's done, we'll sail it away and we'll restore the area to its original pristine condition, and we'll have renewable energy at that point. And that's the goal.
So let me briefly address the cost issue in a little bit more depth. There have been a number of studies done here in Hawaii, and in large part these studies are pretty good. But one of the assertions that they continuously make is usually for every refinery, you have someone that is in a position I would analogize to being like in the corner office. They purchase the maximum amount, or the large bulk of the LNG, and so they get the sweetheart prices. And I think every report to date has said Hawaii doesn't have a big enough market to be that player. There's just no way we'll be able to get that type of deal.
So we can't get them at those prices.
We cannot get them at those prices. And there is an assumption that usually there can be a secondary player that basically sort of rides the coattails and takes the little bit extra, whatever's extra off that. And they've said, well, Hawaii might be able to play in that position, and yet they're still quoting prices at the sweetheart deal prices. A secondary player doesn't get the same type of pricing. And in fact, there's relatively little LNG available at that price point, or available at that area. It's far more likely we would be purchasing on the spot market. If we were investing in the spot market, every single analysis done I've seen so far in Hawaii.
But you're not saying that the price that we would pay in the spot market would be more than the energy we're buying now, because LNG is usually much cheaper than the other ones.
Every report has said if we're purchasing the spot market, LNG doesn't make sense. This is the report done by HECO, done by Hawaii Gas, and done by HNEI. The spot market is not a place that we want to be in. And the reason is this, is that prediction is right now LNG is, we have a glut in the United States. We've had remarkably warm winters, perhaps until now. And so LNG,
Who knows?
yeah, LNG is at an all-time low. And there's a lot of providers that are essentially, just basically just trying to hang on and waiting until this production changes. And everyone's waiting to see what happens with the export market. If we start exporting LNG worldwide, then all of a sudden it's a worldwide market, which it's never been before. And once it's a worldwide market, we are competing with other places like Japan. And Japan would love to buy LNG. And all of a sudden now, what's the difference between low sulfur diesel oil or LNG? It just becomes a world market. And if you're purchasing on the spot market, the pricing is really not going to be economical there.
Okay, let's hold that thought.
Sure.
I think we're going to take a break, but when we come back, Jeff Ono is going to have his chance to deal with the price issues. So I am sure it will be a very interesting discussion.
Well, let me just do one quick note. I mean, again, proof is in the pudding, right? This is something that will be proven, right? And it will be what it will be. But before we make decisions to invest, a major direction where we're going, that's something we have to consider. What is the value there before we make that choice?
Well, that should be part of our discussion. That is, what goes first, and how do you pin the points down so you actually can move ahead? If you're waiting for events in the future or events that cannot be determined with total accuracy right now, well, it's stasis. One of my favorite things. Okay, we'll be right back. That's Jeff Ono and Robert Harris. Jeff is a consumer advocate, state of Hawaii. Robert Harris is the director of the Sierra Club. I will be right back with more on the state of clean energy. Aloha, I'm Jay Fidel for ThinkTech. For nearly half a century, the Hawaiian Foreign Trade Zone, number 9, has brought the benefits of the Foreign Trade Zone program to Hawaii businesses and entrepreneurs. DBED, the Hawaii Department of Business, Economic Development and Tourism, operates Hawaii's Foreign Trade Zone program. It does so to encourage international business and economic development. The Foreign Trade Zone mission is to increase the amount of international trading activity in Hawaii, thereby providing employment opportunities for the residents of our island state. For more information, see ftz9.org. I'm Jay Fidel of ThinkTech. Mahalo.
Aloha, my name is Dan Bauer and I'm the General Manager of the Plaza Club. The Plaza Club is Honolulu's premier business club. We're located in the heart of the financial district on historic Fort Street Mall. On the 20th and 21st floors atop the Pioneer Plaza, our commanding skyline views, along with our award-winning cuisine and service, are known as the place to do business downtown. We offer professional as well as social events and programs to our members and their guests, all tailored to enrich their professional and personal lives and to give them the cutting edge that they deserve in business. Why don't you consider becoming a member of the club? Call me at 531-7788 or come see me and let's talk business and how the Plaza Club can work for you. Again, my name is Dan Bauer. I'm the General Manager of the club and I'm here for you.
Hi, I'm Jay Fidel. Yes, this is ThinkTech, broadcasting on Ustream and Spreaker both day and night, doing its thing on OC16 and Olelo, and uploading videos all over YouTube. Check us out and see the links on thinktechhawaii.com. Mahalo.
Aloha, I'm Nicole Horry for ThinkTech. For nearly half a century, the Hawaii Foreign Trade Zone number 9 has brought the benefits of the Foreign Trade Zone program to Hawaii businesses and entrepreneurs. DBET, the Department of Business, Economic Development and Tourism, operates Hawaii's Foreign Trade Zone program to encourage international business and economic development. The Foreign Trade Zone's mission is to increase the amount of international trading activity in Hawaii, thereby providing employment opportunities for the residents of our island state. For more information, see ftz9.org. I'm Nicole Horry. Mahalo.
Aloha, I'm Attila Seres of ThinkTech. ThinkTech is a 501c3 Hawaii nonprofit corporation. We began ThinkTech in the year 2000. At ThinkTech, we work to raise public awareness about tech.
We're back, we're live, we're halfway through. I wish there were more time. You know, this is the kind of conversation, we are going to come up with a solution, gentlemen, right? That's Jeff Ono, consumer advocate, and Robert Harris, the Sierra Club. We're talking about LNG. Where are we? And if you didn't know, LNG is liquefied natural gas, something we've been talking about for, what, 2-3 years already, actually, as part of the Clean Energy Initiative, or as a, what do you want to call it, a bridge. A bridge that will somehow play in the Clean Energy Initiative. And so as we left the story unfolding, Robert was talking about price and expressing concern that actually if you had to go to the spot market on liquefied natural gas, it would be more expensive than it would be more expensive than we could handle. Comments, Jeff?
Well, I'm not an economist, but you know, we don't know what the supply and demand is going to be for LNG and natural gas in the next 10 years. But the analysis that I've seen, the economic analysis that I've seen, is that there is so much natural gas that's coming out of the ground that the supply is going to exceed the demand over the next 5 years to 10 years. And I mean, they're finding natural gas in Russia, in Indonesia, you know, certainly the North America, Africa, so LNG, or the Middle East.
It's not only the U.S. It's
not
really
only the US.
The discoveries around the world.
So what we're going to see happen is, there's no question those low prices that you're seeing on the continental United States right now are not going to hold. As LNG is exported off of the continental United States, the prices will go up. But what the economists are saying is that the worldwide prices will come down. Right now, there's a price index called the JCC, the Japan Crude Cocktail, and it's a combination of it's an index based on oil and natural gas. You know, that JCC index will come down, and what we will see is a kind of a meeting of the Henry Hub price in the United States with the JCC price in the international markets. The economists are saying that, you know, even when you see that happening, when the United States prices start to go up, we're still going to see significant savings in LNG, much cheaper than what we're seeing currently for LSFO, and certainly going to be cheaper than ultra low sulfur diesel.
But let's make a point that LNG is different than any other energy source that we're talking about, in that you are making a contractual commitment to a specific refinery that you're going to purchase from that refinery over a period of time, or you're purchasing on the spot market. And you know, there's been now 3 reports, I think, you know, generally that have been released, HECOs and HNEIs, and I'm not sure if Hawaii Gas has put theirs out or not, but you know, I think they've been consistent in saying that if you're in the spot market, we will not see significant price savings in Hawaii over what today's pricing is.
So for energy.
For energy. So in that situation, you know, the question is, do we want to be making the type of infrastructure investments? Do we want to be making those types of long-term commitments to something if we're not seeing necessary price savings, which is essentially the primary argument that people make for LNG. The second argument that people do make is that it is cleaner. And plainly, in the burning process, it might be cleaner, but there is still emissions as a result of removing it from the ground. With regards to what comes out, a lot of times it's methane. Methane tends to be much, much more damaging than carbon dioxide. Looking at what the U.S. is talking about doing in an export facility, it's roughly 600 million tons of methane being released, which would be devastating and far, you know, at least comparable.
Is that like you know, carbon? Is that the kind of thing that's going to exacerbate climate change?
Correct. So methane has an impact on our greenhouse gas effect, you know, probably an order of about 3 times what carbon dioxide does. So methane, when released, is far more damaging.
This is not, you're talking about fracking now, or just methane?
Fracking, and as a result of fracking, you have a release of methane into the air.
It's part of the same ball of wax.
So if you're looking at the overall emissions from LNG, not just what comes out of the end of the pipe, but the overall life cycle of it, the impact is, most experts seem to be in agreement, is comparable to coal. You know, and again,
how do you answer that, Jeff?
Well, and I've certainly seen studies that show that the amount of methane release in the, you know, in the hydrofracking process is almost insignificant. you know, and I'll admit some of those are industry-funded studies, and I'll be the first one to say you've got to question any study and where it's funded, you know, and who's doing the funding. So, you know, that's being dealt with by the EPA and certainly local environmental, you know, departments, you know, agencies similar to our local Department of Health. You know, to many states, it's a local issue, and it's being handled on a local basis.
And in that regard, I clearly disagree in that it is exempt from the Clean Air Act and that it is not regulated. And in addition, I don't think there's any state that has adequately regulated air emissions with regards to fracking, nor water damage. And I think that's one of the primary contentious debates that's going on in the mainland.
I mean, somebody must have said, some scientists or group of scientists must have said whether this is going to be a problem for climate change or not.
And there are clearly, and Jeff is right, there are reports on both sides of the fence.
Yeah.
I think, you know, from the reading that I've done, and again, this may be somewhat subjective, that the weight of authority seems to be that this is a significant risk and harm. There are definitely different hydrofracking sites, and they have definitely different releases of methane. So, you know, some will argue ours are better than others, but there is clearly an issue there. And so if you're looking at why is LNG good, and one of the arguments is that it is cleaner, I'd say that there is some great
You're looking at it on a global basis, or national basis anyway, and you're speaking, you know, the language of the Sierra Club, which has taken very strong positions on this around the country.
So let's talk about something very specific then. You know, there's a report that came out in Bloomberg Reports just a few days ago talking about, and forgive me, I'll probably mispronounce it, Kuratsu. It's a island nation, and they're basically saying it is likely going to be the first country wiped out as a result of climate change. That they are having saltwater intrusion into all their water. They literally have, you know, large, vast fields of coconuts that are now turning brown and black, and that the president is actively trying to do economic training for all the people living on there, because they're going to have to relocate all of them. And the population, I saw two different numbers, somewhere between 50,000 and 100,000 people are going to have to be relocated. What is the cost of that relocation? They're going to have to go to Australia, they're going to have to go to New Zealand and Hawaii, right? You're going to have migrants, you know, coming out, you know, and this is a real impact. So when you say, yes, it's a world impact, but it is something real, tangible, and something that has to be articulated.
You're speaking of the larger issue of climate change.
Which,
it's not, you know,
which Hawaii has clearly been one of the key leaders. We have a state legislative law passed saying that carbon emissions are clearly happening and damaging the world, and it is one of Hawaii's expressed policies to try to reduce carbon emissions.
So let me go back to the principal question. You know, we have to decide. We only have, you know, like 10 minutes left. Should we do LNG or not? Okay, you've identified three concerns. One is the pricing, one is the environment, and one is this really a bridge? I don't, just from this discussion, I'm trying to focus myself on this discussion. It seems to me the bridge thing is not so bad because, you know, as Jeff says, you make it portable. When you're finished, you're finished. You put it into the law. That sounds like we can control that. I mean, assuming, you know, we can do legislation along those lines, we can control that. That leaves the other two things. On the pricing, okay, of course you do.
Well, and I'd be happy to explain why if you want. Okay. Remember, you have to buy in a fixed value, right? So if you're making the assumption that we need, say, 60% of energy coming from LNG, you've locked that in. And so when you're saying a bridge, the assumption, or even if you try to do a contract that allows reduced emissions, you're actually impacting their price over time, right?
Well, but if you can create some kind of system that will retire it at the end of a period of time, call it a sunset.
So let's talk about an alternative, right? Let's say, for instance, we do something like the Complete Solutions projects proposed for New York, where you're actually trying to do 90% renewable energy, and they leave the last 10%, which is sort of fast start, ramp up, that kind of thing, for things like LNG. And you know, that is a future planet you can start trying to do. Okay, can we be that aggressive over a short time period in Hawaii? You know, can we do that kind of visioning? And you know, your discussion is, you know, is LNG there? Well, LNG potentially could be a solution for something like that.
Well, anyway, so that's one issue. Thank you for that. The second one is the environment, which, I mean, I think it's an important issue. But let's leave it till last for this discussion. The other one is the pricing, and the pricing suggests to me anyway that we could have the argument about the pricing forever and never really come to grips until we enter into a contract. Then we would know the pricing. So, you know, I think it's fair to say that the pricing can be managed. So I guess, what does that leave then?
So
to me, you can argue with this.
So Jay, let me pause it, you know, again on the pricing very specifically. Should we make a determination of what type of price advantage to Hawaii should occur before we go forth with LNG? I think most reasonable people, sure, that's a reasonable presumption. And so that's just something to signal. If there's a price savings, then that's something we should continue exploring. If the contract comes back and says it's going to be real mild cost savings with the potential, you know, we're going to be locked in for 10 years of volatility, then maybe then we shouldn't. And, you know, simply that's the point, period.
Okay. You know, and the third one is environment, which, you know, we're a little speck compared to the whole world problem on this. So I'm not sure how immediate that is. Our problem, gotta take a break. Jeff, as soon as we come back.
I get to talk after.
Yes, our immediate problem, okay, is how are we going to reduce costs of energy, which Jeff here is real interested in. And I suspect that's a big part of his thought process. So we'll investigate his thought process right after we come back. And neither Robert nor Jay will get in the way. All right? Okay, we're good. We'll take a short break with Jeff Ono here, consumer advocate, and Robert Harris of the Sierra Club. We're talking about LNG. Where are we here on Hawaii, the state of clean energy? It all ends with a G. Okay, we'll be right back.
We want to thank our underwriters.
Hawaiian Electric Company and its affiliates Maui Electric on Maui and Hawaii Electric Light Company on Hawaii Island are deeply committed to the communities they serve.
Galen Ho is a senior executive of BAE Systems, a global defense, security, and aerospace company.
The High-Tech Development Corporation, the state's leading technology agency, attached to the Department of Business, Economic Development, and Tourism.
Castle and Cook Hawaii, with a time-honored legacy that spans more than 160 years and revolves around its mission of investing in Hawaii, creating communities, and providing for the needs of our state.
Hawaii Gas, formerly the Gas Company, a proponent of the Liquefied Natural Gas Initiative, helping Hawaii achieve its transition to clean energy and a better energy future.
Collateral Analytics, a Hawaii-based tech company empowering the real estate industry with greater and faster access to the tools and data they need to make better informed property investment decisions.
I'm Nicole Horry. Thanks so much for joining us on Think Tech.
I'm Maria Kashem. See you next time.
Energy, diversification, and globalism in Hawaii. We do 20 live stream talk shows every business day, and we do a weekly TV show on OC16. We pay the bills with donations from our supporters. Won't you help us by making a donation? All you need to do is go to our website, thinktechhawaii.com, and click on the donate button. We hope that you like what we do, and that you will support us and help us continue to do it. Thanks so much for watching and for helping. I'm Attila Seres of Think Tech. Mahalo.
Aloha, I'm Jay Fidel of Think Tech. We have some news for you. In addition to our Think Tech TV show and our Asia in Review show on Olelo 54, as of January 1st, we're adding Community Matters to play also 2 hours a week. Check out thinktechhawaii.com for the specific times of each of these shows. We hope you enjoy all three. Mahalo, I'm Jay Fidel.
Aloha, I'm Maria Kashem of Think Tech Hawaii, and I want to tell you about our Think Tech talk shows. If you didn't know it, Think Tech streams video and audio for all of its shows live on the internet from 2 to 5 p.m. every weekday afternoon, and we replay them all night long on ustream.tv. Visit thinktechhawaii.com for our live stream and YouTube links. Raise your awareness on Think Tech. I'm Maria Kashem, and
Aloha, I'm Nicole Horry for Think Tech. For nearly half a century, the Hawaii Foreign Trade Zone No. 9 has brought the benefits of the Foreign Trade Zone program to Hawaii businesses and entrepreneurs. DBET, the Department of Business, Economic Development, and Tourism, operates Hawaii's Foreign Trade Zone program to encourage international business and economic development. The Foreign Trade Zone's mission is to increase the amount of international trading activity in Hawaii, thereby providing employment opportunities for the residents of our island state. For more information, see ftz9.org. I'm Nicole Horry. Mahalo.
Thank you, Jack. We're back with Jeff Ono, consumer advocate, and Robert Harris, Sierra Club, talking about LNG, liquefied natural gas. Where are we? And as we left it before the break, Jeff was going to come in and try to put some of these issues to rest.
What were we talking about? Well, the cost issue is to me that's the biggest issue. It's the potential game changer that we've been looking for to give consumers a real break on their electricity bills. And that's the biggest complaint everybody has. Their electricity bills are just too high. We can talk about a renewable energy future, but I have yet to see an economic plan to get us there and keeping costs reasonable. LNG gives us that potential. A bridge fuel where we can use LNG, keep our costs low, in fact, reduce electricity bills, and then move to renewable energy as these technologies become available. And we're not building it tomorrow, but we need to move the ball forward. There are huge issues that have to be decided. The siting issue is one. The type of business model that we're going to have for Hawaii that's going to give us the best possible cost for LNG. We have to decide these things, and that's what I'm saying. We need to keep those balls moving forward. If the cost turns out that when these export facilities start to roll out LNG and the costs go up to the point where it's not cost effective, I'm sure there are going to be off-ramps for Hawaii. And we can kill the project at that point. But let's not stop it now. We have to move it forward. We have to get the siting issue decided. We have to decide on a business model.
There was an editorial in the paper Monday of this week, I think it was. Where are we? Wednesday, yeah. And the editorial was about solar. And one of the interesting points the Star Advertiser made about this is that people have expected that clean energy would be cheaper. Now, I don't know where they got that idea, because, I mean, it only takes a little logic to say if you're going to build a new system, somebody has to pay for the system. But people think that it's cheaper, and I agree in the sense. I mean, you're in a situation where you, talking to Jeff, where you have to be responsive to the public. It's political, and it seems to me that the public is up in arms, right or wrong, about the cost of energy. I mean, there's two of us in my family. We got a bill for $350 already for 1 month of, we don't have PV, 1 month of energy. That's a lot of money.
Apparently you don't have CFLs, are they?
We do, plenty. Even with CFLs, yeah. But I mean, just really expensive. And people are crying out for this because they're spending simply too much money. And so, bottom line for the public, the electorate, the ones who Jeff is responding to, is we got to find a way to spend less money on energy. It doesn't matter what it is. Right now, it's crisis.
Let's just point out, though, too, if you take a look at places like Texas, Idaho, these are not liberal progressive states, they have done massive investments in renewable energy because it is cheaper. They're getting wind at 4 cents a kilowatt. And there are some direct policy reasons here in Hawaii why we're not getting those kinds of great pricing. And those are the types of things I think we also have to be addressing, in that you don't just give up renewable energy and say because it's not cheaper. Well, I mean, it is cheaper. Are we doing it right?
Theoretically, it's cheaper.
Well, I mean, we now have roughly, I think Hiko just said 9% of consumers have switched to PV. Why? Because it is cheaper. Now, can we do it in a way that actually is beneficial to all ratepayers, that all ratepayers are seeing the benefits of that? I think those are kind of hard discussions that we're going to have. And I think there are some clear ways to do it. And, those are also, I think Jeff's point was don't stop the discussion on LNG. Fine. I think that's an entirely reasonable point. I think on the flip side, I don't want to see the discussions on other options stopped either, that LNG becomes the only thing talked about, because we are in a transformational state, that we are going to be making decisions on where we're going in the future that are going to have significant repercussions, and we can't be one-sided about it. We really have to have a robust discussion.
That's a precautionary principle. I mean, as Jeff says, we've got to move ahead and do something. So, to put it on the track of an ongoing discussion, while everybody gets to vent, new ideas and questions and calls for study and all that is going to get us nowhere. If I were king, I would make a decision on this one way or the other, but we're not doing that. We can't do that. Democracy, and it's Hawaii, the state of stasis. So what do we do, gentlemen? I make you king separately, I think. After this discussion, have to be separate kings, okay? So you go first, and then Jeff can have the last word.
I believe the consumer should always go first, and I've been talking too much. So Jeff, please
there we go. It's a lawyer thing,
You're going to let me go, Robert? I'm not going to let you have any time at the end. Well, if you're going to make me king, I think we keep moving on LNG. I think we keep moving on the undersea cable. You want to talk about incorporating greater renewable energy. I think the undersea cable is key to that. Without making that first connection, Oahu to somewhere, probably Oahu to Maui, with a 200 megawatt wind farm located somewhere on Maui, we're never going to see an undersea cable that's going to connect the Big Island and all its geothermal resources to Oahu. And that's going to be the ultimate goal for renewable energy. But in between then, we have to have something that's going to give ratepayers, the consumers, a real break on energy prices. And I think that's LNG. And that's why we're here to talk about it. And I think that's a key. And I do want to say that both of our utilities, Hawaiian Electric and Hawaii Gas, they're moving forward. Hawaiian Electric is looking at the siting issue. They're talking to the Navy about Pearl Harbor. Hawaii Gas has their what they consider to be a phased-in approach. They want to bring in LNG and what are called ISO containers, ship them in somewhat limited quantities to start with, and then ultimately get to bulk shipments. But the possibility for lowering our energy costs, not only for Oahu, but the neighbor islands is just too attractive to end the discussion about LNG now.
Okay, it looks like he gave you a little time, Robert.
Big mistake, Jeff. And respectfully, again, I agree. I don't think that there should be a termination discussion about LNG, nor am I proposing that we talk about it endlessly. I think there has to be a frank discussion, and frankly, that hasn't happened yet. Let's point
Tell us how we have that. Tell us how we have that. Give us a way forward on this.
One possibility starts in EIS on the siting and actually start trying to do a community engagement about the areas about where it's going to go in, and you actually have to do a frank assertion and one that's going to hold up on what the cost is going to be and really have some proof on that. And usually that can be a period of time to do. The fact that we haven't even started, think it's way premature to say let's just do it, because you have at least a year and a half ahead of you on that process alone. You asked about being a king for a day. Let's point to something that is a success, and to shining success, is that we now have tens of thousands of homes powered by solar.
We really think that's a success? We haven't solved the storage problem. We're decades away from solving it.
In Germany,
we're just going to go
example,
into a vortex on that.
Are you? I mean, you have some very realistic solutions, and you have other countries that have seen great, massive levels of penetration. And I believe that this is a choice that we're going to have to, an issue we're going to have to face regardless, because the market is moving in a direction so quickly that the market will make the choice, even if policymakers are standing there.
It's technology that'll make the choice. Not everybody can have what he wants. Everybody in the market can say, I want it, but that doesn't mean they can all have it.
So, I mean, again, beta, VHS, technology doesn't always control. I think the market ultimately does make the choice, right? And if you have people, and we've had over the past 2 weeks, several major solar companies running full-page ads advertising off-grid solutions. If you have thousands of people moving off-grid, then the market has made a choice, and it's not a good one. I'm not advocating for it. I'm saying that this is going to be one of the possible scenarios of the future that we have to start addressing and start recognizing and trying to make sure that we can at least keep these people on the grid, and in a way that we're actually trying to see some benefit for repairs at large. It's not an easy thing, but it is happening, and that is one of the futures going forward.
Well, it looks like he took his time on PV.
Can I say something about
please.
this?
You got 1 minute.
When you talk about the market and PV, the market isn't, you know, it's not a true, it's a subsidized market. We have tax credits, federal and state tax credits. Net energy metering is subsidized by the non-NEM customers because they get a credit at full retail rate, so they're not paying their
And
fair share.
$55 million of energy went back to consumers. That was excess produced that those people didn't get to take advantage of. That is now out there, right? So, I mean,
Up to a point, it's fine.
But the reality
But where do
is,
we
is
go
that
now?
the reality is if I'm able to purchase a PV system and a battery and go off grid and it makes economic sense, then what's stopping me? So, I mean, I do agree that cost is a fundamental issue that does have to be wrestled with and addressed to be able to incentivize people to stay on the grid. Because much like the cell phone completely disrupted the telephone industry, I think we're looking at that kind of transformational system going up. And so making long-term investments, assuming a certain amount of energy use, is potentially a mistake.
Well, and let's not mislead people into thinking that with a battery, you're going to be able to power your house 24 hours a day.
Oh, you guys, we're out of time. I'm so sorry, because I had some comments too at the end. We'll have to do this again. With Jeff Ono, Robert Harris, LNG, where are we? Here in Hawaii, the state of clean energy. Thanks so much for listening. Thank you, you guys.
That was fun. Thank you.
Very valuable. Aloha.